something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. So all you young people, give it your. So all you young people, give it your. So all you young people, give it your. So all you young people, give it your.
Good afternoon, the back community. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Tonight, we have one of Albany's finest. I was just joking with him off air, telling him I think that he's the Lil Wayne of this generation because how he keeps putting out hits and putting out awards is out of this world. But this afternoon, our guest is going to be Sergeant Nate Pendleton of the Albany Police Department. So Nate, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to interview you today, bro. I really look forward to diving into your story. This has been, long overdue. So, you know what I mean? I've been waiting to circle back to get you in here, man. But thanks for agreeing to be on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. I feel like this is like we was just talking. This is like the Drink Champs or the verses for us regular folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the overall point, man. To highlight us regular folks and to realize that actually we're not as regular as some people would actually think. You know what I mean? Just to be able to do the amount of work that most of the interviewees on here have been doing is out of this world, and we deserve to be highlighted. We deserve to be recognized, and it's like creating a database for anybody who wanted to plug into all things Albany or the Capital District area. Be like, let me find out some positive people around here that I can go ahead and tap into. Let me go reach over at the back community, find out who's been interviewed and who's doing what. So,
right.
But yeah, man, shout out to Drink Champs. You know what I mean? If I can get that setup in play, you know what I mean, have my drinks and all of that, woo, it'd be a whole nother level.
Oh man, that'd be epic.
Yeah. Well, let me see, man. I'm gonna hit you with your first official question for today's interview, Nate. I know I introduced you as Sergeant Nate Pendleton, but there's some people in the Capital District area who might not know who you are. So I want to open up the floor to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the back community. Here's your opportunity to tell us more about you and what it is that you do on a regular basis, sir.
Okay, well, like you said, my name is Nathaniel Pendleton, but I'm affectionately known to friends as Nate or Big Nate or Nate Dog or whatever you can associate Nate with. You know what I'm saying? Grew up in Albany. Been here all my life. I'm ready to go because I'm over the cold. But you know, I love when LeBron be saying like he's just a kid from Akron. Because I feel like I'm just a kid from Clinton and Quail. You know what I mean? That's my thing. You know, I went to Arbor Hill, Livingston, graduated from Albany High. You know what I mean? Your brother was my right guard to me being right tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you give it up. And your brothers was my boys club family. You know what I mean? Livingston have boys club. You know, you might have been too young for that, but you know, me, Georgie, Jamero, Aunt, we was all Livingston Boys Club kids, man. So, you know, when you ask me anything about like community stuff, like mentoring stuff or whatever, like, you know, we was thrown into this as young kids. You know what I'm saying? So when you have good mentors and you know they have a positive impact on your life, you know it's only natural that you know sometimes some of that stuff rub off on you and everything. You know what I mean?
Facts, man. Shout out to Big Bro resting in heaven. This is Jamero Lamont Hughes. Shout out to my other brothers as well, Georgie and Anthony that you just mentioned, because you know they were the motto for me to create the man that I ended up becoming. So, you know, I got being a baby, I got a chance to learn from all of those guys and figured out what to do, what not to do, or what to do just enough of, you know what I mean, to get by. So
yeah. Believe it or not, I mean, I'm the baby of my family too, and I had four older brothers. You know, Rest in peace to my older brother, Maurice Faulkner. But same thing, you know, that's it, bro. Between my older brothers and my older sisters, you know, you able to watch and see and say, let me take a little piece of this, let me take a little piece of that, and, you know, make it my own. And yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that part. But
facts.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing, man. It's like some people overlook the fact that, you know, that's firsthand experience, firsthand knowledge that we got right inside the house. And, you know, I took little pieces from each of my brother's personalities to go ahead and craft who I was going to become, because we didn't have a solid father figure in our household. You know what I mean? You know, so most of us were trying to create the imagery of a man out of a figment of our own imagination. So I got a chance to witness some older people in my household and say, I'm going to take each of these pieces and I'm going to try to craft out the best Tyrell that I can craft out of what's around me. And I think that's similar to most young men that's grown up, as you just said, just a kid from, what do you say, Clinton and Quail? No, what do you say, Clinton who?
Yeah, Clinton and Quail. 614 Clinton Ave.
Yeah, I say the same thing, man. I say just a kid from Harbor Hill. You know what I mean? So yeah, just a kid from Harbor Hill, man. But yeah, okay. But how was it growing up for you? I know you alluded to different things like the Boys and Girls Club and playing football, but how was it for you growing up in the Capital District area, Nate?
Man, when I tell you, nothing but fun, like good times and everything. You know, it's funny because, you know, when you start to get to that age where, you know, you feel like you're getting older and everything, there's still a part of you that like want to be a kid, you know what I mean? And free spirited and everything. And I think I was able to, you know, kind of hold on to that and everything. So when I tell you, like, it was nothing but beautiful for me. Like I didn't, you know, obviously back then we didn't have the whole uptown, downtown thing or whatever. So if I wanted to go to Mount Hope and see my friends and play football, basketball, you know, I jumped on the bike and we did that. You know what I'm saying? Cross town at Hoffman, you know, Ridgefield, wherever, 3rd Street, it didn't matter. Arbor Hill, you know. So growing up in Albany was definitely a good time for me. I just was telling my one coworker, and like I said earlier, like I'm over the cold and all that or whatever, but I always say I never have a problem with the snow. You know, like I could do the snow. I just don't want to do the cold. You know what I mean? And the reason being is when I was younger, like when it snowed, I stayed outside in the snow.
Yeah.
Like whether we was shoveling snow, whether we was having snowball fights, we was trying to build forts, we was sledding. Like Bleecker Stadium was like one of my playgrounds too. So, you know, I just stayed outside in the snow, stayed having fun. Me and my friends had bikes. We was just all over the place, to be honest with you. At a young age, all over the place, probably some places we shouldn't have been, but you know, so growing up in Albany was it was definitely cool for me, for real.
Okay. And listen, I was going down memory lane with you, just thinking about it. Like, one, I don't do the snow at all no more. I hate snow, so I try to stay as far away from it. But as a kid, it was everything, man. You go. I know you didn't mention Dead Man Hill, but going down there, going sledding. I remember one time I took Anthony's sneakers that I was always taking my brother's shoes anywho. So I took Anthony's sneakers and he had the Charles Barkley's that had just came out, right? Yeah. And boy, I picked the wrong day to wear those things, man. We went down Dead Man Hill and was sledding down there, but they had no grip on the bottom of them. So I was just like stuck on the bottom of the hill trying to get back up. And then it had got so dark that, you know, because I wasn't going to make it back up the hill, I was going to have to walk all the way out of Lincoln Park to get out of there at night. And I'm just like, I literally, on my hands and knees, climbed up the Dead Man Hill right there on Morton Avenue just so I didn't have to walk all the way through the park. But yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, I probably was only lucky to go to Dead Man's maybe a few times just because of the fact, like I said, I lived uptown. So I wasn't walking to Lincoln with no sled. You know what I mean? For real.
Facts. Let me see. I also wanted to say before I get too far away from it, because one, I know currently you're sergeant, but before that, most of the people have probably become familiar with you through your previous role within APD as well. I know you and your partner Juan, who I interviewed before as well. Shout out to Juan Cancer. Did a lot of truancy work. But how did you get involved in your current career? What made you choose to become a member of the Albany Police Department?
Well, number one, it was a better job than what I had. That's number one. And I say that because it really started as I had like two jobs. One, I was working at downtown at like the Hilton and the Omni Hotel or whatever. And then one of the guys that I think he was security, he left and he went to work for the police department giving out parking tickets. And so eventually I ended up doing that also. And I did that probably for like 4.5, 5 years till finally, again, looking for a better job, and having some encouragement and then just some of my own motivation and said, all right, let me make this next, transition and get into this. Cause, again, encouragement, I had a really good sergeant who was my boss at the time. And he straight up just was like, Nate, you could do this job too. You doing that job, you could do this job. So come on and do it. So okay. That's actually how that happened. And then once I got in, I already kind of knew the niche that I wanted to get into, what I'm saying? Which was, working with kids, doing everything, juvenile related. And that came from when I was giving out parking tickets, right? there was a period of when we were parking safety officers. There was times where we used to have to do school crossings. So I personally probably did like every school crossing in the city of Albany, right? And that's because the lady who was in charge of, she's a family friend of mine. So she knew she can count on me, you know what I mean? Plus she was giving me overtime too, but she straight up used to be like, yo, can you do this spot? Can you cover this spot? So I used to be all over doing school crossings, like before or after my shift. So that put me in touch with, not so to speak, but put me around kids and families in the schools, you know what I mean? And so just getting that type of engagement and everything, and interaction with the kids, and the kids like just seeing me in uniform and interacting with me, loving me, and and right then and there, I'm seeing kids, little kids like walking to school by themselves and stuff like that, whatever. So you start to see it then, you know what I'm saying? So that right there was like, man, that's a pretty dope feeling. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my way to be able to give back. Once I got in, I knew I wasn't trying to like do narcotics and none of that other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it was a lot of my family and friends that was selling drugs. So, you know what I'm saying? So
he said, I don't want no parts of that right there.
Yeah, I mean, and that didn't appeal to me, you know what I mean? But this right here did, you know what I'm saying? Because again, I had great mentors growing up. So I really, right then and there, I knew it was important that our kids see different role models, that look like them in different walks of life, that they could be like, oh, snap, I could do that too,
Yep. And I to be honest, man, I'm gonna highlight it even more right now. I know I was joking earlier and was calling you the Wheezy of this generation with how you putting out awards for what you're doing, but you guys have been doing it at a consistent rate and pace for so long. I know even doing truancy, a lot of people don't really understand how important it is to have truancy officers, and working with the population that you guys have been working with for so long is one, is needed, but it's also huge. It takes a person that has a caring heart to be able to look at a student who obviously you're going to cross paths with, who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing at the time, but to be able to rationalize and reason with them and to get them on track or prepared for where they really need to go. So I love the work that you do, Nate, honestly, because I know it's impactful work. And you know, it takes. I also like what you said too. Is like you knew where you wanted to go, or what, like where you wanted to go with your position within APD, right? It was like, you know, I didn't want to go that route, but I knew that I could make an impact on my community by doing it this way as well. And there's so many people, Black, brown, other, that grew up in our neighborhoods that look just like us that have now joined the police department. And hats off to all you guys, because I think it's a win for the community, actually. And, you know, I know growing up, it used to always be this thing like, oh, you know, you don't talk to the police or whatever. And for me, you know, I mean, once I started to have family members and friends that became members of the police department in Albany or in other cities, you know, it helped you to realize how whack that mindset is, because it's just like, listen, these are human beings just like the rest of us, right? They got families, they got friends, you know what I mean? And everyone isn't everyone isn't the bad apples or the rotten apples that we may see from time to time on TV. But your work and what you've been doing is a testament to how community policing could be and should be by you guys being I've never seen an event that you guys weren't a part of, whether being a part of the actual event or working there for security of the event. And that is community policing at its best. So shout out to you again, Sergeant Pendleton, for that, because your work that you're doing is significant and huge.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, yeah, growing up, like my next door neighbor, like I said, I'm 614 Clinton Ave. So 616 Clinton Ave was a guy that he ended up becoming, you know, and a brother. He ended up becoming APD, and he retired as one of our juvenile detectives, you know. So immediately that was somebody that I seen, you know, and everybody know K-Will and, you know, the K-Will story and everything or whatever. But me and my friends, we straight up, we just used to have the mentality too, not so much that you didn't talk to police or whatever, but we just had the mentality of like, if we ain't doing nothing, we ain't got to worry about police. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't thinking about police, whatever. When we was doing some stuff, then we know that we could be involved with the police. There's a good chance that the police might run down on us. You know what I mean? If we wild out, we knew that. So that's how we maneuvered. And man, yeah, I got some stories, but so those are some of my first images of, you know, some brothers doing policing and everything. And then, you know, you talk about truancy. So for me, when I first started, we had the truancy program going, and that was something that former Mayor Jennings actually started, and he put Mr. Villa, Sal Villa, shout out to Sal Villa, you know, he put Sal in charge of that. And so everything that me and Lawan learned as far as like truancy stuff and talking to kids and families and dealing with it comes from Sal, just because Sal is a consummate gentleman, you know what I mean? He's old school. And he, you know, he has a lot of basic common sense. Sal doesn't act like he's the smartest person in the room. He doesn't act like he's better than you or anything like that. Anything that, you know, that you want to know or you need to know or he can help you with or whatever, he's that guy. You know what I'm saying? So it was easy, me personally, knowing where I wanted to focus at and jumping in with that and then connecting with him at a later age, because, and I tell him all the time, like, you didn't know me in high school, Mr. Villa, because if I was getting in trouble, it was on the low or whatever. I wasn't getting in trouble where I'm in your office all the time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you know, growing up hip hop, like one of my all-time favorite lines, KRS, is like, real bad boys move in silence. That's how I always was. You know what I'm saying? So when people used to see stuff or whatever, they'd be like, "Nate, nah, what? Really? Like, just chill, like, you know, chill." again, I'm from Clinton and Quail. You know what I mean? But
don't get it confused.
Right. So yeah. So Sal, once I got on the job, that's when it's like we just started developing a relationship because he didn't know me in high school. I wasn't in his office acting up in high school, and a big part of that too is because I play sports. I basketball and then right into football. I mean, football into basketball. I'm sorry. So I wasn't in the office like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was just, man, taking on a lot of stuff from him and how to talk to families and deal with families and then making those other connections, probation and all these other, places, Trinity, Equinox and all that stuff or whatever. It was just, it made my path start to get brighter and better and everything. And I naturally, once Lawan got on, it was like, pull him in, like, yo, let's do this, let's do that. And we both try to do that with all the brothers and sisters and brown people, whatever, because again, it's important for our kids to see that. You know what I mean?
I agree wholeheartedly, man. And even speaking about Mr. Villa, I think my first pass with him might have been at Hackett. So I went from Hackett to Albany High, and it was always because I was getting involved in some stuff. So my first introduction to Mr. Villa was always because I had to go to the office for something like that. I later got a chance to work with him more when I was running my mentoring program, Model, via students that were on the truancy track, and we did a lot of work with probation and pens as well. So, but then it was just 360 to be the kid that everyone used to be worried about at one point, to now being able to say, well, you know what, I can use those experiences and that gives me some authenticity to work with the population that I'm working with. And that's what I see when I see you. So when you're talking about just a kid from Clinton and Quail, you're the perfect man for the job doing what it is that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I do have an interesting question for you, because this one I know impacts you too. But you'll have a unique perspective on this one too, as a member of the Albany Police Department. I want to say for the first 2 seasons of the Black community, I've always been saying that I think that the toughest years statistically for Albany was 2018 and 2022. No, 2021. But the mayor was on not too long ago, and she corrected me too. So she said, Ty, she said, because I think that the numbers have gotten tremendously high there in terms of the violence there, right? But how have you been impacted by gun violence in the Capital District area? And how have you been impacted by gun violence in the Capital District area?
Man, it's tremendously, tremendously. And I don't want to speak for her, but I think obviously she has to, play the numbers in a way that favors, the positivity and all that stuff or whatever. But there's some days where like every day we at least have shots fired call, I had one last night, you know what I'm saying? Just random out the blue, five shots. Nobody got hit, but that's not the point. That's not the point. That shouldn't be normal.
Yeah.
That, just any given night, and it was pretty cold last night, So it's like, what are we really doing that, like you're living some lifestyle that at any given moment somebody's running after you, shooting you, or you're shooting at them or whatever. Like, is it really that serious? Mm-hmm. Are you really making that much money? Mm-hmm. I need to understand. It has to make sense for me, and right now it doesn't. It really doesn't, and that's the thing. Now later on, like I'm about to be in my 18th year. That's the thing. It's depressing in terms of talking about the city of Albany. It's very depressing because, again, any given day, we have a shooting, shots fired, whatever the case may be. So
I'm glad you said that too, because what she did allude to was that she said gun violence is at an all-time high. It's at the highest it's ever been in the city of Albany, as well as among other cities across the nation. But she said overall violence has been decreased, but gun violence is a national pandemic.
It definitely is. She's right about that. It is.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because a lot of people don't realize, like you said, man, it's cold as all out. As cold as ever outside right now, and we're still out there doing that activity, and it'd be like, well, but think about the lingering effects that it has, not on just the people that are involved, but the community. Think about the people who have to hear the shots and deal with the shots, or live with the fear of wondering if those shots are going to come through a door, a window, a house. That's not meant for somebody else. So, I always empathize with anyone that's directly in, as I like to say, the war zone, and you got to deal with it because it gives you post-traumatic stress. And most of us probably won't say it because it's become so normalized. We're so used to it. So we're desensitized to the effect of it, but it's not normal and it shouldn't be normal. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, no, you're right. If you grew up anywhere around that, or a part of that, like we have, we automatically got PTSD, whether we admit it or not. We really do. But at the same time, like I said, we shouldn't normalize it that it's okay for it just to happen because we live in those areas or grew up in those areas, or even if we move, or whatever the case may be, just who you are or who your name might be or whatever. It definitely shouldn't be normal because it's not a normal thing. Even we can get into the history of our country and all that other stuff. But it's not a normal thing. And gun violence has always been a community issue, as well as a police issue, you know what I mean? But until we marry those forces and come together, it's always going to be a problem.
I agree.
Everywhere.
I agree. Shout out to my man, Angelo Justice Maddox down there at Fresh and Fly, because I know when I interviewed him in season one of the things he said was, he was like, Rel, what we need to do? We need to get back to shooting a fair one. He said, most people are too scared to use these right now. So everyone's picking up a weapon, picking up a gun to handle disputes. But, I know growing up at the Boys and Girls Club, we had a boxing ring over there on Delaware Ave. So, if we had a dispute, they would allow us, I won't say the names because I don't get nobody in trouble. I can't get nobody in trouble. They're not there anymore, but they would allow us to put on the gear and go ahead and duke it out in the boxing ring there. So, right. One, I think being able to find other ways of dealing with conflict is very important for young adults as well as grown adults. But, being able to have a positive environment or ways to positively deal with something that may be negative that you're experiencing. It doesn't always have to be grabbing a gun or grabbing a weapon or going to retaliate. Being able to have mediation skills, being able to have walk away skills. I got too many of my friends that are still locked up right now doing major numbers just because we couldn't walk away. So, being able to have those skills are very important for our community, and as well as the young adults that are experiencing a lot of these traumatic incidents.
Right. And I said, these kids, they don't have, for one, their brains aren't even fully developed. They don't have the mental capacity to even process everything that, could happen, is about to happen, et cetera, et cetera. And then, no conflict resolution skills.
Yeah.
No people skills, social skills. You know what I'm saying? We talking about a generation that will rather text you or email you or, DM you or whatever the case may be, instead of actually having a conversation, when the funny, it's funny but sad when we actually deal with kids and we try to talk to them and et cetera, and they get mad. It's like, bro, why are you getting mad? Because I'm asking you where you live at, or, what's your parents' name or whoever. Like, why are you getting mad? Because you feel like I'm putting pressure on you or something?
Like, you could just question Sergeant Pendleton. Don't ask it to me. Text it to me.
Text it to me. Right. It's horrible, man. And that's the thing. Like I said, it makes it depressing in a sense, because of this being our town and how we grew up and came up and what we got to deal with now. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge that you got to figure out how to get in and fit in and maneuver, and so
yeah. And honestly, it is depressing, but it's also for those of us who experience Albany or experience the Capital District area in more positive times, right? Like I said, I always, whenever I come home or whenever I speak of Albany, it's always from a place of nostalgia, right? Because I remember, just like you said, you can go to all of these different parts of town. I was blessed. I can go downtown, uptown, crosstown, out north, you name it. And, I ain't had no problems. So, it was a blessing. And it was just like, there's so many positive experiences that I attribute just to Albany alone. And, I want everybody else to experience that. That was part of my reasoning behind doing the Black community too, because it was just like, don't get confused or don't be bogged down just by the negativity that you see on a regular basis in the news about what's going on. It is bad. But you have some beautiful and positive people that are still here making a positive change, whether you're there physically or you're away and you're still contributing. You know what I mean? And it was just like, let's highlight those. Let's figure out a way to, like you said, bridge the police department with the community. That idea of community policing, and how can we collectively make our city great again. I hate to even say that, but it was in my head, so I had to say it. So
Right. And that was the beauty that we had in our position, because we were the police department. We weren't a particular group, because the thing about Albany is that we are service rich. You know what I mean? We have so many service providers, so many non-for-profits, so many people in the community that are doing good things. Sometimes it's everybody's doing something all at once instead of doing it together or coming together. You know what I mean? And the beauty that we had is that we can work with anybody.
Yeah.
Come work with you. I come work with somebody in this area, that area, this genre, or whatever the case may be. And there's no stigma per se, or there's no animosity like, oh, this is my event or this is your event. I don't care who event it is, to be honest with you. That's how I always came at. I don't care whose event it is, whatever. Just as long as if I'm attached to it, I want it to be a good event. I want it to be decent, and definitely if I put my name on it and I make it something, then it's gonna be, I'm gonna go all out and make it a good event that you'd be like, oh, okay, that was good. That was dope. But I don't have to worry about my name being on a flyer or whatever the case may be. First of all, my name is, I'm representing APD. So if you want to put that on the flyer, go ahead. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give you the best representation of APD that I can, because it's a reflection of me also and what I do in APD. So, that's the great thing that me and Juan had with our stuff or whatever. And so it was only natural that when we did create our own stuff, we had people who was ready and willing to jump. Oh, I want to be a part of that. Yeah, how can I be down? Well, I didn't know about that, and et cetera, et cetera. So, that's what made our thing, really good and special.
Yeah, I remember for one of your events. This was years ago, but I remember I don't think it was you. It might have been Juan that reached out, but because I used to get a lot of corporate funding from North Face. So North Face would send us a bunch of book bags, hats, and stuff like that. And he was telling me about an event you guys were doing. So I was like, I'm going to put him in connection with my connect at North Face. to try to make that happen, because what you guys were doing was out of this world. You know what I mean? We talk about the events of you bringing young adults down here to where I live at now, to the DC metro area. And it's life-changing experiences like that that opens up your mind and be like, wow, you know, I could have a life that extends further than my normal 3-4 block radius here in Albany. You know, I could go out, I could travel, I could go to school elsewhere. There's other people that look like me doing positive things in the world. And it helps a young adult to figure out, you know what I mean, who they want to be. So, but yeah.
Yeah, Ty. And you know what? Like that, doing those trips and everything came from our first year. We was heavily working with Sal and in the program. They actually funded our trips. 2010, you know, the police department put me and Juan together as just the pilot program. And, you know, they had an idea of what they kind of wanted to do, but didn't know how to do it. So they basically just gave us a pile of names and whatever and said, all right, y'all figure it out. And we did that. You know what I'm saying? So the trips came from, you know, we knew we wanted to take the kids to a college campus, you know, and, you know, so we connected with my man Echo King up at you know, U Albany, and took them on campus to see college, because a lot of these kids probably drive right past SUNY going to Cross Gates, but don't even know what that is over there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we knew it was important. Like, all right, let's get our kids to the college campus and everything. You know, we also wanted to show them the negative side too, and to kind of be able to take them to a facility, you know, whether it be a juvenile facility or prison or whatever. We weren't able to fully make those connections. For some reason, everything was on hold or whatever, you know, or maybe somebody dropped the ball. I don't know. So, you know, and then that year also, we took kids to New York City, you know, and took them on a couple excursions, you know, speedboat past the Statue of Liberty and stuff like that, and the Intrepid, and, you know, took them to eat and all that, because again, just knowing some kids don't see past Albany, some kids don't see past Troy, past Schenectady, past, you know, wherever. So let alone go to New York City.
Yeah.
You know, and now once they built that museum, man, I said, that's huge, bro. Like, we got to get to that museum. We got to get to that museum. And the first time we went, it was life-changing for us as adults. You know, if you've ever been there, it's definitely life-changing for, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
I get in there and I'm looking at stuff and dates and everything, and I'm putting it in the perspective of, wow, my grandmother lived to be 95 before we lost her. So I'm putting it into that perspective, like, wow, my grandmother was such and such age when this happened. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, that's deep, the process, you know?
Yeah.
And so all the adults that we brought on that, they definitely took something out of it. We just hope that the kids did, you know? And the main thing too is being able to go miles away from your home, you know, without a care in the world, because we took care of everything. All they had to do was bring their little spending money, you know, and, you know, the trip was amazing. You know what I'm saying? And so it definitely it definitely became something part of our, you know, curricular, so to speak, that we knew we had to keep doing, had to keep trying to introduce as many people to it as we could.
Okay. Yeah, I was just about to say, Facebook had just sent me a memory, I think yesterday. I had wrote a note, and I was talking about 10 different things that I had just experienced that weekend. But we had just came back, myself and brother Yusuf and the rest of the guys who used to run Model with me. We had taken a group of kids down here to the DC metro area. We stayed at this old, really, really old mansion. But I was just writing in my highlights of the event. I was just like, it's just so dope I remember my first time I had the opportunity to go to DC, I couldn't afford to go. I was in Hackett. It was a trip that the school was sponsoring. We didn't have enough money to go ahead and go to the trip. right? So I couldn't go. But when we did that trip there, and we stayed down for a couple of days down here in the DC metro area, took them to the monuments. We went to the places where The Wire and stuff was shot. We went out to go eat and all of the places in the hood. But it was so dope. They didn't have to worry about any expenses. Parents knew that their kids were well taken care of, and those are life-changing events. So, you know, I knew right away, you know what I mean? Like, I knew you said you knew what the adults took away from going to the museum. I guarantee you, though they may not have been able to articulate it, the young adults that you guys took there too was able to take away more than anything, just because you guys put them in an environment where they could open up their mindset, and that right there lights a fire for us. And I say some of the kids, I think the kids in the inner city are some of the most gifted kids. I think once we learn how to turn on our light bulbs, you can't dim the light. But it's just a matter of us escaping enough of the circumstances that is readily around us, and having enough luck, enough prayer, and enough resources to navigate our way up out of there. But once we do it, you know what I mean, you can't dim the light bulb.
Right. And having enough people who care about you to, you know, to even want to take a chance on you to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I said, we just hope, even if not in that moment, you know, maybe the next year or the year after, you know, it just sinks in and be like, man, I remember we went to Washington last year. That was pretty fun. You know what I mean? And you're right. I remember schools used to have those trips, and it did used to be costly, you know, and not everybody could experience that, you know, but we wanted to make it in such a way that we made it in such a way that is like, oh, we putting it out there and we giving it to you. It's yours if you want it, because we actually made it a contest. So to speak, we made it, and because we was going to the African American Museum, we made it, you know, part of their Black History curriculum. So to me, it was a alley-oop. You know, the connections we have with our schools and the kids. You know, some of the other kids we brought was through Trinity Institute, and that's because, you know, we had a good rapport. We have a good rapport, not had, with Greg Foskey, G Love. So it was just like, all right, you have the kids there, whatever. So this is all we're asking for you to do, you know, do some kind of project for Black history or whatever. And we're going to judge it. And the best winners, you get to go. Yep. How hard is that? How hard is that if it's already something that you have to do for school? You know what I mean? That's not difficult. So yeah, and the kids loved it. They ate it up. You know, the one thing that we always noticed though, and so after the first year, and then even and we try to, you know, point it out to them and make an emphasis of it, is like, we always got more submissions from the girls than we did the boys, you know, and more thoughtful submissions, more creative submissions, you know. The boys, and I don't want to just, you know, put it on their teachers or whatever, where the teachers just had the boys write and just, you know, kind of like a template essay or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but the girls gave us so many amazing projects, bro, that our office, there's just like a corner in our office is just cluttered with pictures and poems and all kinds of stuff, you know, and not all of it is from the girls, but the majority of it is.
Okay. Let me see, man. I'm gonna take you somewhere else because I know we have been reminiscing on a lot of the past events that you've also been a part of, but presently, bro, you are still leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of people in regards to what you're doing now. So, you know, I've seen you receive every type of community advocacy award that is possible for an officer, as well as just a regular a civilian or a resident of the city of Albany. But so I want to ask you a question about success, because you know, everyone has their own definition of success, but I'm interested in knowing what does success look like for you. So what does success look like for you, Nate? and how do you define success?
Well, what it looks like for me is it's a marathon rather than a sprint, and so yeah,
You see my
yeah,
right?
yeah. And I'm not even saying that because you got that shirt on, but that's the thing, the one thing immediately, like when I got on, that I learned from some of the older officers, they always said, Nate, if you could just help just one kid, you'll remember it, or whatever, they're gonna remember it. And that's true, bro. That's huge. You know what I mean? So now taking it into what we decided that we were gonna do and all the community stuff, whatever, so we kind of immediately saw success, so to speak, because we seen this kid that we was trying to change his trajectory and everything when he was 12. Now we see him at 21, and as soon as he sees us, he lights up. He's dapping us up. Yo, bro, it's good to see y'all, man. I'm doing this, that, and the third, and blah blah blah, and and he's not in trouble.
Yeah,
that's success for me right there, and on that aspect. And then the other part of it too is mentoring my coworkers and pulling them on and everything, because it's not all about me. You know what I mean? I don't want to do everything. I can't do everything. You know what I mean? I need y'all help to do some stuff. I need y'all to be seen, because y'all here. Y'all here now. So what are we doing? Y'all here now. So that's success too, when I can get them on board and they start making their way and saying, oh, I want to do this or whatever, you know what I mean? And a couple of dudes, obviously, if you win the sports, whatever, basketball or football is easy or whatever, but still it's difficult to take time out of your own life when you're not working. You have your own wife and kids or whatever, to go volunteer, like to deal with somebody else's kids. That's hard to do on a regular basis, and we got a couple brothers who was doing it, 2-3 days a week, through PAL. So to me, that's success also. You know what I mean? I've never been one of those that's like all about like me, I, so to speak, because I've always felt like with my upbringing and the friends that I used to be around and hang around, these dudes was like athletes and everything, and I was just out there just playing or whatever, but I was able to keep up and I was able to shine or whatever. So that's where my confidence and everything came through. So I've never been like, the focus has always got to be about me. I'm always about community. I'm always about friends, family, let's do this together. You know what I mean? The quintessential there, like there's no I in team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this. Like the work, if the work is there, what are we really doing? If we doing the work, then let's get it done. You know what I'm saying? So I don't do anything for awards, so to speak, because it's
the work,
when you do
the work.
the work speaks for itself. When you're doing the right thing, whatever, people naturally are going to be recognized, whatever. I will say this though. I will say this in a sense that when you say I've been recognized wherever, blah blah blah, whatever, not by my organization though.
Interesting.
That's the only thing that I probably would really want. You know what I mean? And not because of something. So I have been recognized by the job or whatever, but it was because of something that happened, a situation that happened or whatever. It wasn't because of anything community oriented or whatever that we was doing or whatever. So
that's an interesting point though. I
would rather have that. I would rather have that appreciation and everything, and not just when you need me to be the face of the space because I'm the Black face and I'm the community face or whatever. And it's just because that was me and Juan's running joke that it's like, oh, we got this going on, or we need to do, send LaJuan and Nate, send them over there, send them over here, send them over there. It's like, like what Ice Cube said to Omar Epps in Higher Learning. He's asking him a bunch of questions, and Omar's giving him answers, and Cube just looked at him. He said, "Run, N-word, run."
Run. Yep.
Yeah. So I'd rather be recognized by my job than, you know.
Hey, listen, man. I think that is very important as for any of us to receive recognition from our the efforts that we put in on our regular jobs, because that's huge. And also, it also helps to increase the morale among other officers as well. I've never as many people from the community join the police department as I see now. You know what I mean? So, you know, that is a testament to those officers who are actually leading by example, like yourself, to go ahead and encourage other people to see an avenue and a way better for themselves and their family through working for the department. And hopefully the department recognizes that and utilizes that, continues to utilize it as a strength. Because I know you guys even got one of my young guys model that I used to have there now. You know what I mean? Shout out to Officer Brian Jamar. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I look at Jamar, I look at Paris, I look at Bunch, all of these people that you guys have now. I'm sure they all look to what you were doing, to what Officer Cancer was doing, to what Milt was doing, you know, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, you know what? These are pillars in our community that are doing it in a way that, you know, I can do it too. And I can go ahead and make a difference through my impact as well.
Right. And that's very important. Me and Lawan have always done recruiting. Like since I started, I've always been part of recruiting and stuff. We just need a bigger part of it, you know, and not me and him per se, but we as our people, we need a bigger part of it, a bigger say in it, you know, when it comes down probably to the actual hiring process. You know what I'm saying? The community needs a part of it when it comes down to the hiring process, you know? So there's a lot of things that can be done better. There's a lot of things that can be changed and everything. You know, it's only what they want to do or whatever the case may be. But I'm always going to play my role and, you know, and know the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's, again, that's huge, you know, getting out and being in those places and talking to people and bringing more people on, like you said, you know. And then, you know, as soon as we got Lawan, just his name alone, you know, is a recruiting tool. You know, Shalaa Bunch, his name alone is a recruiting tool. You know what I'm saying? And then besides, you know, the circles that they're in or whatever, Elston Mackey, his name alone is a recruiting tool. You know what I'm saying? We understand that and we see that. They have to say, oh, shit, like, you know, not just use us to use us, but in the right way.
There's value. There's authentic value. I think I just said this on Facebook the other day. Authenticity is valuable. So every name that's listed, you know what I mean? It added value by their authenticity. You guys add value to the next generation of wanting to become officers. So
absolutely.
Yep, there is value in authenticity. But let me see, man. I ain't gonna hold you up too much longer. I'm gonna get you about 2 or 3 more questions, and I'm gonna let you go. My next question for you is probably my favorite question from season 1. I don't get to ask everybody this question anymore, but what's your favorite place to visit in the Capital District area and why?
My favorite place to visit. That's a good question. That's a good question. I probably would have to say the river and the waterfront, just because I'm a big fan of rivers, lakes, you know, the water, you know, is definitely very peaceful and serene. You know, our waterfront, you know, you can run, bike, jog, whatever. So I would have to say that, you know, and then speaking of that, I just, again, I just always kind of feel sad that, the powers that be didn't do a better job of building it up in such a way that, you go to these other cities and everything, and their waterfronts is amazing. You know what I mean? Where you're at, you can go down to MGM or, the harbor, Baltimore, the harbor and everything, and just have a good time. And it's amazing. I just wish that ours was done like that or whatever. But anything when it comes to rivers and stuff like that, like I've never been one of those who's been afraid to drive over bridges and all that or whatever. I mean, sometimes when I go down south, I specifically go so I can go through the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel, and you know what I mean? Stuff like that is amazing. New York City, hands down, is one of the best places. And if you've ever been on one of those party boats at night or whatever, just all the is lit up and all, that's like one of the dopest things to me. You know what I mean?
Nice. So I think in season 1, my answer was the same as yours. It was the riverfront. You know what I mean? Because just being by the water is peaceful for me. You know what I mean? Me and my brothers would get up and play chess down there. We would have family cookouts every year down there. But I think it's changed. I got a chance to go to Brother Yusef's trail up there, which is down the street from my house there. And what is it? The second largest urban outdoor park in the state of New York. And really? That trail, is beautiful. That's dope. So, I go visit it every time I come home when the weather's nice. I take the boys with me and we just go down there because I seen Tivoli Lake before they actually redeveloped. So to go there, I'd just be like, I wish I had this when I was younger. It ain't look like it was the gully. So,
Right. And you know what it needs? You know what it needs? It probably needs a fountain. It needs a fountain. It needs some water spraying up, because you're right. It is pretty dope. Me and Juan, we rode our bikes down through there and everything. Like that's crazy. Yeah. So same thing, because we knew how it was and everything. Our friend broke his arm going down the hill, when it was Tivoli Lakes and everything. So to see how they developed it and changed it, it's fantastic. You're right. And I understand why it's your favorite place now, whatever, because of the connection that you have with Brother You. Yeah.
And it's right down the street. So, I can come out the house whenever I'm in town, and literally just like, it's nice out, and I'm an early bird. So I get my coffee. I'm ready to go. I'm just like my mom. My mother used to get out early, go take the bus down to Stewart's, and then go take the bus down to work every day. So I do the same thing when I'm in town. I go down to Stewart's, get me a coffee. Even though I got a coffee machine in the house, it's just the principle. So I do that, get my coffee, come back, and just go walk in the trail.
That's dope. Yeah.
And let me see, man. My second to last question for you, Nate. What about your life's path are you most proud about?
I would honestly say, just really making my own decisions, my own moves. You know what I mean? Where my life has brought me, it wasn't from, my siblings. They gave me direction in a sense of, again, like we said, what to do and what not to do, whatever. But it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, like this place, I know they're hiring, or I know this person that's in there, or et cetera, et cetera. And so, and even my parents, so everything kind of to where I am have always been my own decisions, just based on my own feelings, my own movements and everything. But I would say with the thought of grandma in the back of my mind, just, wanting to make her proud more than anybody else, more than my mother, more than my dad. I mean, it'd be crazy to say, but, I live with my grandmother more than my parents. So, that would definitely be it. You know what I mean? And then, once having my daughter, just being that dad for my daughter, like knowing that our kids need fathers. You know what I mean? Yep. Like I had my father, but there was still some, obviously everybody have, good and bad with their parents. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So just knowing how to be that dad for my daughter, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Showing her with hard work, a little hustle, anything's possible. You know what I mean? I bought my house on my own. She see me with cars, whatever. She see me get up, go to work. You know what I'm saying? She see me buy her any and everything that I can afford to buy her when I need to buy it for her or whatever. Because she's a good kid. She's a great kid. You know what I'm saying? And I'm excited. She's looking forward to adding an addition.
That's where I was. My last. And that's where I was.
I'm excited that she's excited about that, and it's weird. I don't want to say weird, but it's funny to me because she already has a little brother, through her mom. Yeah. But she's happy for dad. So that's what it is.
Well, I'm glad you just came there because that's where my last question was coming. That's where my last question was going. Anywho, I actually wanted to ask you. How do you balance work and life? Because you are a father, you are a community activist, you are a member of the Albany Police Department, and like you mentioned too, you're about to welcome a new life into this world as well, man. So how do you balance, or how do you keep a perfect, if there is such a thing, work-life balance?
Well, I really have to give a shout out to my daughter's mom. So from day one, we had no drama, no stress, everything. We didn't have the people involved really. So that and then my family, I would definitely have to say my oldest sister. All my sisters, no doubt. All my sisters have always held me down, when I needed them to. So especially like when it comes to work, that's never been a problem. You know what I mean? My mom's older now, but I've never had a problem when it came to balancing work and babysitting issues or whatever the case may be. And then once we got into the community stuff or whatever, man, it's like, all right, come on, So my daughter been any trip that I've done or whatever, my daughter's been there, as she should.
Yep.
As she should. Hey, if I'm going with somebody else's kid, my own kid is coming also.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's been easy, super easy, bro. For real, hands down, and she wants, she wanted to be part in all that stuff. She'll come, she'll help, volunteer, she's at our table with us when we at the Tulip Fest, you know what I'm saying? She even will go as far as making some cookies or some brownies or whatever, and now we're giving them out for like donations or whatever to try to fund the DC trip and everything, you know what I mean? So it's been super great, but I definitely have to shout out the ladies in my life,
Nice.
So I told you I'm the baby or whatever, so I was a little spoiled. I still am a little spoiled, just a little bit.
he said just a tad bit. Yeah. Well, listen, man, Sergeant Nate Pendleton, I truly appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share with us in this space. You got a dope story, man. I think that you're one of the most positive people there in the Capital District area and also elsewhere, because I got a chance to party with you outside of Albany too. So, congratulations to you on this impending birth. Congratulations to you on all of the efforts that you put in at home and in the community. And we need people just like you, Nate. So thank you for allowing me to interview you on the Back Community. It's been an honor, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. always good to see you. You know what I mean? I thank you and I appreciate you and all the things that you've always done. You know what I mean? So this was a no-brainer for me. Absolutely.
Facts. Well, listen, man, I'll play catch up with you next time, man. Salute.
All right, bro. Salute. Peace.
Peace.
Keep climbing up the ladder. A Black Lives Matter. They matter. Matter. So all you young people, give me all. 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 Matter, matter. A Black Lives Matter. They matter, they matter. A Black Lives Matter.